G'day all, welcome back to Nat Knacker's Yard. I am Nat, and I am knackered still from a bit of holiday, but the working week's finished. Let's get on with it. What do I want to do? I want to get to that carb because I want to check what type it is so that I can order the parts, because I'm pretty certain I'm at least going to need gaskets, and it'd be nice to get some time over the weekend. But we've got house guests, so I won't be able to get a lot done, but I should be able to get a good dig through the carbs if I get it down to small enough parts. A few other bits that I've noticed / been pointed out or have come up in conversation. One that's been come up is a question over grab rails and are they needed for the MOT. It wasn't until I've looked under this. It is fitted for but not with, so I might have to see if I can find some, or I'll have a chat with the MOT station and just say what's the score with them. But yeah, that's a bit of a pain in the arse, but nothing too monumental. What else do I want to look at? The routing of the choke is a bit dodge, but hey, get through to that. Yeah, the bit that's got me at the moment though is this. Yeah, it's the right gone blank handle, throttle, etc. Now the ones that I've seen do have a switch for the headlight, on and off, on and off, on and off. Now this doesn't work, it has been disconnected, which to me says it might not be the proper one / original one, and I'll do some cable chasing, but not now to work it out. But also if you step back and look at the two switches left and right, they're actually same style, same notch, but it's a different colour. Now I wonder if that's older. Grips are the same, but actually having looked on the internet, the grips are the same on all of them anyway. I don't know, I just wonder. It's not something I'm going to piss around with now, but it's just something that's caught my interest. I've taken the seat off. I have had a very quick look. I'm less than convinced because it's really flimsy. That's the vacuum, I think, because it comes off one of the carbs, comes off the left hand intake, not off the rubber, which is slightly unusual, but hey, it comes off and goes into the fuel, so I'm assuming that's the vacuum. I have tried sticking a random pipe on there and just sucking to try and get a decent vacuum to see if that cured it at all. No, it didn't think it would, worth a go, but I was always going to clean the carbs anyway. So rather than zoom you in and out, what I think I'll do is stick you on a stand and we can go through it a little bit. Yeah, and we'll see how we go. Right, okay then, so let's work through this, shall we? Right, removing an unfamiliar tank. Most tanks, not all. I'll just try to hoik the bike up a little bit more upright. My stand is being used over there. Most bikes are secured at the back, and what you can see, normally 1 or 2 bolts at the back, and quite often one at the front as well, depending on the type of bike. This isn't, and in fact none of the bikes I've got at the moment are secured at the front. They are just, oh hang on, no, obviously the phasers are hinged at the back and secured at the front. This one is 2 bolts at the back, no bolt at the front, and it slides onto 2 mounts under the tank. So whip the bolts off. This only had 1 in it. Go for a bit of a peeky-boo, see what you can see. Now it looks like it's just the, sorry, that was attached there, the vacuum into the vacuum, so this is vacuum fed, and yeah, and a main pipe, which is quite a broad one actually, into the carb. Now I can't see where it's connected to the carb end, so I'm going to have to do it at this end. Now one of the first things I'm picking up here, and I think Alex mentioned it about the petcock. The petcock has got the same sealant on it there, so it's been tampered with as well, and I think he said he thought it was a bit buggered, so it might need a refurb. But let's get this carb sorted first. So what I'm going to need to do is remove that fuel pipe, which is a bastard to see because it's really quite packed in here. Right, so gotcha. Yeah, bastard. A little bit of fuel leak, but not too much. Right. So the tank will normally come up and slide back off something, and indeed that one has. Have a quick look. There we go. A little bit of fuel left in the tap. Doesn't look too shoddy. Right. Put that on a little area of grass where, strangely enough, the grass never grows. Right, let's look at the carb itself. First view of the carb. Main fuel pipe, vacuum. Looks relatively simple, so I have to generate a bit of space for that all to come back. Looks a bit cramped in there. Charlie's favourite spider's webs. Is that secured in or dropped in? That appears to be a pipe to nowhere. No, it's the overflow pipe. P-I-P-E, no L in it. From the coolant. Got the box there, secured by those two bolts that are absent. Load of the wiring there that's been split to have a look at some point, and a bit of replacing. But now I think, well, you got the airbox will be secured by a load of brackets onto the carb itself, and the carb itself onto the engine by brackets onto the manifold. So I'm going to try and undo those first and see if I can get the airbox to slide back. So I've got the world's longest screwdrivers, currently at was it Lidl or Aldi? Lidl, I think. That's £7, which I grabbed them because I'm getting fed up with trying to balance carbs and not being able to reach the balancing screws. So there's just straight screws onto these. He says with authority, having never done this on this bike before, but hey, principle should carry over. That's carbs 1 and 2. That's 4, and that is 3. You don't need to undo them all the way. You just need to make sure they'll spin and that they're not pinching the airbox on. So let's give the airbox a bit of a rock, see if I can move it. Yes, I can. What it is pointing out is that what I think is the ECI here is kind of pinched by the airbox, so I'm not going to be able to slide it back whilst that is in there. Now, Alex did also mention that there is a bit of loose wiring in the ECI, so I'm going to be slightly careful over manhandling it around. Right, that's generated a bit of play space, I think. Yeah, lovely jubbly. Right, so that's the bit of play space there. Let's do the same on the, quite magnetised this, so not the straightest thing in the world either. Doing exactly the same with the clips onto the manifolds, loosening them off enough so that they'll flap around in the breeze, but at the moment there is no requirement to take them all the way off. And while I'm doing this, I'm just checking over the rocker housing, which doesn't look too bad, but could do with something. So one, that's 3, 4 and done. Just done 1, now doing 2. Right, cool. We are now not attached to the airbox at the back. We are now attached. Now, what I quite often do is find a way of securing that back, because it will piss you off otherwise. Don't really necessarily have that as yet. Let's see if I can just create a bit of working space. I sound a bit croaky. My voice went this afternoon, which is a bit strange. I think that's as much space as I'm going to generate for myself, and it looks like I'm going to be forced to go that way with the carb because it's a bit tighter on this side. Can't quite see how. Yes, I can see what's caught on. It's caught on the loom. Try that again. There you go. That's quite a lot more space. I wonder if I've got... Oh, I'll see if I can do it without pinning that back. I don't know how well you can see actually. Let's move you across a little bit, give you a slightly better view. Yeah. Right. Now, it is always debatable whether or not you're better off trying to release cables with it on, with the carb on, off, or halfway off. Now, this is the first time I've done this on this bike. I will try with it on. So that is the choke cable. Just tuck that away. Remember roughly where I've put it. I have the throttle cable here, which I am going to struggle to get to. Oh, actually I don't really need tools. Fortunately, it's finger tight at the moment, so I can at least slacken it off. If not, actually, no, I'm not actually going to get to it right now, but that's fine. Right, so before you start hacking away and pulling away, it's just worth looking at what's attached to where. So I've mentioned before, the vacuum pipe, which goes to the bottom of the fuel tap, petcock. That's the main fuel. That's a big bugger of a pipe, that. I've also got from the top of the carb to the airbox. I'm not sure you can really see it, but for my finger, I've got that U there. Well, I'm obviously not going to be able to get that carb off right there. So it's just a quick case of working out which, ouch, try not to bang your head on the handlebars, which is what I routinely do. It's just a case of really, I'm guessing which end is going to be easier to get off. Now, I think in this case it's the airbox end, i.e. the top end in this one. There we go. Right, I've got another long pipe which I believe is an overflow. I've got the overflow there as well on the other side, which you can't quite see with no pipe on it at all, so I'm going to need an extra pipe on that. But what I am going to do is just yank it off the bike for now. It's an overflow, so it's not attached to anything, but they tend to be routed around, so it should make my life a little bit easier. Right, now the only thing that I'm still attached to is that throttle cable. Now there's often two throttle cables, one throttle, one release cable, that work opposite ways round. Quite often find on older bikes it's just been cut back to one. 2 secs with me, the kids. Yeah, not to worry, just the kids killing each other. Yeah, quite often it gets cut back. I say cut back. You just end up with a throttle cable. That's what this has got, which is fine. Right, let's see if I can do this without pinning back. Ah, that's interesting. There's an engine, top of the rocker cover nut to the left hand side of the top airbox. There's another airline to attach up once you put it back together, mate. Right, so that seems quite solid still. Let's just make sure I've got them really loose. Where did I have that? There we go. I want to be careful not to completely kibosh these manifolds, because they're probably going to be a bit old. And if they're like anything else on this bike, they're not going to be the easiest thing to get hold of. Right, now I need to lever it, but I want to be careful about what I'm levering against. I just want to give them a bit of a wiggle. Really rather solid, and normally just they wobble off, so just straddle the old girl. Give them a wibble, see how they go. There we go, and we're off. So I'm no longer attached at the front, no longer attached at the back. Now, a lot of the reason why others, including myself, delete air boxes is because this really doesn't give you a lot of space. But if your bike doesn't slide down your slopey driveway, you still see it. Yeah. So if you create as much space as you can often get away with it. It just takes some manhandling to do so, which is pretty much what I'm getting away with here, I think. Pipes catch in, everything catches. It is an arseache, you will swear. Right, so I'm now 2/3 of the way out. It looks like on this bike it's get it halfway, then do the cables. So I've got it halfway. I'm now going to unclip the throttle cable. Like I say, the bike will try and tell you what it wants to do most of the time, and more importantly, I suppose, what it doesn't want to do. Throttle cables always considerably easier to get off than on. Right, so just remembering, making a mental note how that was fed through. Right, so that's the throttle cable off. Right, and we have 1x3 carb, and this'll please Charlie, 1x really quite big hitchhiker. Look at that. Ooh. Nice. Right, let's give you a good view of this carb. Right, okay, let's have a look at these carbs then. Right, first things first, drain the fuel out of them, take off the drain plugs, undo the drain plugs, 1, 2, 3, 4, drain out the last of the fuel in a safe area, not on a patch where grass doesn't grow or grass will never grow. Let's have a quick look at what we got. I mean, they look, presentable, so they've been cleaned off, if not cleaned, and I do know from Alex they have had a quick clean through. Right, things to look out for: diaphragms, no sticking, really strong. Looking at the butterflies from the rear, which in my limited experience is where it tends to get neglected. Okay, where's the throttle? Always difficult to do with nothing attached. Looking at the butterflies, they all move, which is good, and they seem mostly synced. Looking at the channels around the butterflies, don't look bad at all actually. Looking at the float bowls, that sealant has been used on all of them rather than the gaskets, which I kind of knew just from the outside. So what we're going to do is undo, they are straight screws on this, which is handy. undo the screws, get the float bowls off, and we'll have a look inside. Not going to film that just because it's awkward more than anything else. Right then, so slightly awkward situation where it's almost easier to do than to show, but right, let's get them orientated. That's how they're on the bike. So carb 1, 2, 3, 4, airbox towards me, engine away towards me toes. So flipping it over to the float bowls to have a look at. So that's an air intake pipe that comes in, weirdly enough being an air intake. Here is the fuel intake, so it's that one I mentioned, a big thick pipe. It's actually broken out into two intakes, to the right and the left between 2 and 3, 3 and 4. Alex did mention there's a pinhole. I think I can actually see it, so I'm going to need some new pipe to replace that. So mental note, new ones of those, mate. I've undone the screws holding on the float bowls. Oh, bit ropey, but lots of life left in them yet. I bestow the value of simple tools constantly, and part of the reason I do this is to prove that you don't have to have a fully snap-on garage to do this sort of stuff. Great if you've got it, by all means, you crack on, well done big fella, but it's not necessary. I'm just spinning the idle screw there, it does engage, it was just all the way off, which is interesting. Anyway, yeah, so I always try and do it by hand first, because it is a lot harder to strip a bolt head by hand than it is with a machine. Very easy to do with a machine. So something small that you can get a lot of leverage on, or it doesn't really matter, you're going to need to get the leverage on it. So something like that, which costs, you know, like £3 I think, with a little kit, is great just to get it going. If you've got an electric after that, brilliant, just saves you time, but you do not need one. Right, let's have a look at what we've got under here, apart from some really okay, so that explains quite a lot then. So part of the reason why it was probably running badly was the seal that was put around it, because the gasket is flat and was probably leaking, is all the keck that was used to seal it has fallen inside. So that's fine, that's an easy clean out, that's not an issue at all, and is a good thing because it explains a lot quite simply. So a lot of that keck has got through and has also probably got into the jets. Now let me grab a, in fact I don't need to grab a flathead, I've got a little set here. No, right, sorry, getting ahead of yourself now. Let's have a look at what we got. So that is carb 4. Good stuff, whatever. Alex, what is this? Really good gasket stuff, but there you go, it's rubber where the air's been on it. It is not set where fuel's got into it, so still some green in there. That's easy enough to clean out, not a problem. Let's have a look at carb 2. Carb 2 gummed in together, green again, so nothing that a dose in the ultrasonic won't cure. Yeah, that stuff still, I don't know how petrol proof it is, but it doesn't seem to be standing up to petrol. That's 2, and we're on to 1. Yeah, same story, same Jackanory across the board, and it looks like some of that keck has got in there as well. Floats are 1 and 2, it's, you know, simple test, and part of the reason I do things on my knees rather than on a bench, apart from the fact I haven't got a bench. Bounce your legs. Yeah, they've still got some bounce in those. 3 is set, 4 is set. Sorry, is set as in isn't bouncing. Ah, no, this is interesting. There's a different configuration here. Normally it's on a flat leaf, so the float valve, which is under the float itself, is on a leaf that you tab that you bend up or down to change the height. On this, doesn't look to be the same arrangement. Right, I'll have a look in a second. That's interesting. Right, let's see if we can. I won't do all of these live because it's just a bit. Oh Christ. At least that one is finger loose rather than finger tight. I mean, it's greened on the top, so it's going to need a clean off. I can't tell what jet it is. I wonder if I can get that off with the kit in my lap rather than having to get up because I'm lazy. No, of course it won't. Serves you right for being lazy now. I'm going to have to get my spanners. So that was the main jet. I was pissing around with there. This is the pilot jet or the ignition jet, or the low jet in some cases. I can see, I thought I could see air through it. I think I can see something in it, but I can't breathe through it, so probably blocked. Oh, where did I put that? Down there. Yeah, that's, I can't believe I haven't got a spanner that will fit over that. Right, let me go get my spanners and we'll take that housing for the main jet off as well. I'll leave you running, but I'll fast forward you while I dive through the back garage. Right, I'm back in the room. Nope. It's one thing I wish I was better at, is judging the size of bolts and screws. Right, there we go. Never get it first time. Right, so just being slightly cautious when you're playing around with these. They are made of brass. They do not respond well to too much movement. Doesn't look too bad actually, but again, you know the colour of it needs a good dose. Right, let's see if I can. I bet you I can't. Have a look at that float now. Like I say, I've not seen this, the inside of, go away fly. Okay, I've not seen the, because there is no bounce in that at all. There is in 1 and 2. I don't quite know the difference of how they are mounted. Alright, let me see if I can work out a way of getting in on that, because it don't look simple, governor. No. It might be simple, governor. Right. So, pulling out the pin, in most bikes these will only go one, oh wrong, most bikes these go both directions, but it's blocked off by whatever the hell that is. Straight metal pin, magnetic, float bolt, float. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how you adjust the height of that, but fundamentally that's too low. It's also green, so it needs a clean. Now it doesn't actually, now what you want to look for is too much, you know, like a ring dented inside that, because it's a soft tip, and actually it don't look bad. But yeah, it's an interesting way of doing it. I've not seen it like that before. It's in that little plastic recess. So presumably there is a way of adjusting that height somehow. I'll have a look at one of the ones that with more bounce in it, because I've not come across that before. It's nice. Right, and the condition of the actual area, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure you can pick up on it, but there's some green within that. Right, and the other bit, because I'm going to do this properly, is the air fuel screw. So before I remove it, I'm just going to check what it's set at. Half in, 1 in, 1.5 in, almost exactly 2. Now I don't know what the book setting is for this. I haven't found out yet, but I will continue searching. But it's normally 1.5 to 2. Any more than that, and you've got jetting issues that you're just hiding. Now I'm getting a lot of crap coming out of here as I'm unscrewing this, so it doesn't fill me with faith. Yeah, that's pretty hideous. And yet the tip is still quite sharp, so not too bad. I'm just going to get my little hooks out. We'll see what's left in there. Again, simple tools. You get a set of them for about £3 or £4 from your local hardware shop or your big shop, a la Halfords if need be. But frankly, I'd rather spend money in small local businesses, particularly throughout the lockdown where they've struggled so much. Yeah, look at the state of that. That's pretty hideous. I'll obviously try and clean that up, but I don't think it will, and I'm not sure how much you can see. I'm not entirely sure where the camera is on this. If you look down there, yeah, that's pretty nasty. Alright, yeah. Now, somewhere, sorry, I got something in my mouth. Somewhere within there, you can see all the crap that's come out. Somewhere within there is a metal washer and a rubber washer underneath it. That's all just gummed in. It's going to need a good clean out to get to. Right, I will turn you off while I continue the motion with the others. We'll see what we end up with. Right, so we're nearly there, but I just wanted to do the mystery of the floats. They don't appear to be, this configuration of floats don't appear to be adjustable on float heights, because the height is set by that lip, as in the lip sticking out there, which goes on there, and when it hits the plastic lug behind it. So what dictates the float height is the actual height of the switch at the top, which in this case, the one that looked, you know, on the dead floats, doesn't move at all. That'll be why. On the ones that are working, boing, 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 see from my thumbnail there, the ones that weren't moving at all. There we go. Now it's working. So that will now be a working float height, albeit dirty. Where was the other one that wasn't working? Find the wheel bugger amongst the other stuff. Right, that's the one that was working. I'm going blind. I'm going blind. Oh no, there it is. I just picked it. It was obscured by something else. Yeah, so that's the one that wasn't working. Again, green on the top, not surprising. That one's not releasing at all. Well, not without some cleaning. Oh, hello, sunshine. Yeah, so new floats. Certainly one new float, but if you're going to do one, why not do all? I have one slight issue by virtue of having one idle that doesn't seem to want to play, so I'm just going to whack some oil down it, maybe grab some pliers. That one's trashed. Right, got the bastard. Perseverance. So obviously it was breaking off, so I've had to Dremel it down lower. Tried it once, it snapped. Tried it once more, and we got it. My other option, if that didn't work, was to flatten it off again. I've got some like bolt extractors, screw extractors to get that down there because they're anti-clockwise milled, but unfortunately I didn't have to because that was getting a bit low. Even with that drilled, I can't breathe through it, so that was knackered anyway. Right, I'm going to stop there because I haven't got a lot of time. I'd love to just give this a good dig through and go through it, etc. But like I've said before, I'll do my wrap up while I'm finishing my half job. Like I've said before, that's probably confusing people here because that's the other way round. Said before, this weekend I've got house guests. Without giving away too much, unusually I like these house guests. And they're related. There you go. Whatever next. Yeah, I'm not going to get a great deal of big stuff done, but if I do this, if nothing else, it allows me to shop with a degree of confidence, because I knew I needed new gaskets, or else why would that have been done if it wasn't needed? And it's because these are completely flat. I needed new gaskets. I wanted to make sure I got the right shape, because they all seem to be slightly different for this bike, and there's lots of variants that sound the same but aren't. You know, a Super Four is nothing like a Super Dream, is nothing like a Super or Big One. They are all, despite sounding similar, very different, and actually throughout the years they change quite drastically as well. So I wanted to make sure I got the right bits so I don't waste money or time in waiting. So I wanted to strip it down. Frankly, having seen the state of those, bearing in mind I need at least one new float, one new idle, it's difficult to get ones and twos. I'm just going to buy a kit with whatever I can get in it and make it up, so I don't think I'm even going to bother ultrasonic cleaning the jets and the bits and pieces. I think I'm just going to stash them, see what I get in a kit, see what fits, see what don't, and then just swap them out. What I'm also going to do in the interim is give this a good clean through, so all of the channels, you know, a good dosing of carb cleaner, and just get rid of this sort of shite. Oh, there we go, like a dentist. Yeah, get rid of all of that because it's going to be doing it no harm at all. I also need to get new pipes, which is a good thing because I routinely don't clean them out or clean through them, and I really think I should, but that should make life a little bit easier. Right, so that is how I have a go at a new pipe, a new carb. The simple summary is carefully. Because replacing things that you've broken when you do stuff like this is an utter ball's ache, and really you want to avoid it where you can. So yeah, do it carefully. Part of the reason I film is so that I remember what I've done. Take that one inside. Remember what I've done and in what order, so that when I put it back together I know how it works. Right, I hope that's useful for some, I hope that's entertaining for other, and I hope people just like hearing my dulcet tones if that's what floats your boat. Cheers all, I will catch you later on. Thanks for watching. Ta-da.